In this video today, we are going to be discussing the recent regional qualifier in Lille that took place last weekend, talking a bit around it in general, the meta, how diverse it is, but in particular this video is going to be focused on one particular legend, that is Irelia. Now, Irelia is dominant in most statistics you can see. So, when we look at the top 8 from the event, 3 of them were Irelia's. So we had the number 2 seed, number 5 seed, and number 6 going into the knockouts. They did all lose. So you might be watching this video and your first initial thought might be, well, Zell and Irelia didn't win the tournament. Just because Nazir won the tournament doesn't suddenly mean that he's now the best legend or deck in the game. Obviously, a good, healthy game, which I think Riftbound is for the most part, especially so early on in it, should have multiple decks and ways of playing that can win events. We've seen that. We've seen Annie win events, we've seen Draven win events, we've seen Irelia win events, we've seen Ezra win events. So this video is far from a let's moan about the meta. It's more just a, are we getting into a position where Irelia is similar to Draven and maybe needs a slight tweak if we're trying to get more balance across the board. And as we go through this, I will talk a bit more in depth about that. But we had 3 Irelias in the top 8. That's 37.5% of the top cut. From memory, that is what Draven was doing, and then people were complaining about it, and that's why he got such heavy bans. When we look at the Irelia in terms of day 2, the most in day 2 was Irelia. She didn't have quite as good a conversion rate as Draven, very similar, but 56% win rate on the first day. That's pretty crazy. That's the second highest outside of Draven, who's near identical. So those two still head and shoulders above. I mean, not head and shoulders. Annie was pretty close, though there was a smaller amount playing her. Obviously, the smaller the sample size, the harder it gets to fully be able to judge it fairly. And then before the event itself, this, I think, in general is quite a healthy set of graphics. That we only had 3 decks with more than 10%. And those were most likely the decks that a lot of people thought would win. I think after the top 5, I don't think, no, maybe in the top 4, I don't think many people truly believed a deck other than the top 4 would win the event. Fiora was quite surprising, to be honest. She had 3 decks very high ranked. 1 nearly made the top cut. I'd have liked to have seen that Fiora in the top cut and seen how she could have done. However, though, Irelia is very dominant, and the real dominance comes when you can see more in depth. Let's have a look. Got a tournament, blah, blah, blah. When you actually break down the top 32, 16 of the top 32 was Irelia. We'll count it so you can see, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then the next one's another one. And then we'll go for the top 64, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 23 out of 64. So more than 1/3 of Irelia's, of the top 64 were Irelia. 50% of Irelia's were top 32. And then when you look at this breakdown here, 15% of the decks played were Irelia, but 50% of the top 32 ranking decks in the entire tournament were Irelia. So it shows Irelia is very good, and we're bordering on really the territory that we saw from Draven when Draven was really dominant. If we look at Draven, we'll have a look at a few legends individually. So like Azir that won the event, there's one there. 2, 3, 4. So 5 did better than I expect. 6 actually. I think you can actually look at legend yep. So look at Draven. So Draven 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No, we'll look at top 64. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there was nearly double the amount of Irelias than there was Dravens. So we're on like 23, was it, for Irelia? 13 for Draven. Annie, let's have a look. 3. There's only 3 in the top. Obviously, there was less played in general, but still. Kaiser, 5. 5 in the top 64. So the top 32 and top 64, and just day 2 success rate in general on Irelia pretty much just destroys anything else. There was 2 victors in the top 64. Ghost Driver there, winner of Bologna, or winner of Best of Metal. I think he made the final in Bologna. Just missed out on the top 64. But the thing is, we're not looking here and just saying Irelia is by far the only deck you could use. She didn't win the event. She didn't even make top 4. And I think that meta is in a fairly healthy state. But it's clear to see that she is, consistency-wise, very good and arguably oppressive. And she's doing what Draven was doing before, effectively, is what I would say. It's not like she's being played 60% of the decks, and that's why she's so dominant. And I think truly one of the best things, if not the best thing that we see in the Riftbound major tournaments right now is this best of metal. The best of metal, allowing for much more diversity, is really big in my opinion. I really like what they're doing. To me, it's a fantastic thing. It means that you're not just seeing 70% of decks being 2 or 3 legends that people just think are the ones that are going to win. Because if they remove this best of metal, which they're not going to, obviously, it's so popular and it generates cool storylines and content. But if they did, then people, you would assume for the most part, 99% of people are just going to play the legend that they think will win the event, give them the best chance of winning the event, as we'd see in most TCGs. So I really do like this best of metal. It's not perfect, but under that system, we are left with a smaller share across the board. I can tell you for free, these top few would be like 20-30% minimum if it wasn't for the best of metals. But we're seeing just so much more consistency. And then when we look at these, you honestly probably also expect that most of these people playing these are probably pretty good on the deck. I would hope, at least, considering they've brought here to try and win the best of. And the win percentages are pretty low on a lot of these. And that's just day 1. Never mind probably when we get to day 2. Some of the places where you could hit Irelia, in my opinion, Stellarcorn Herder. That is probably the most obvious card to get banned in green. If you banned Stellarcorn Herder, then I think that green in general will take a step down. We say this, but I'm pretty sure, like, we look at the Azir deck. Azir's green and he didn't use Stellarcorn, I'd imagine. Yeah, there's no units in that. I imagine Yi did, though. Azir has a very unique playstyle, is what I will say. But when we look, free Stellarcorn, free Stellarcorn, free Stellarcorn. Let's have a look at this one. Free Stellarcorn. Look at the next one. Free Stellarcorn. Free Stellarcorn. So every Irelia deck is using this Stellarcorn unit. And effectively, it's a unit that's so annoying because if you don't get an answer to it, they probably win the game. That is the problem. So Irelia is a bit of a problem in my opinion. We're nearly at the end of set 2, so we're not going to see any more bans. But Irelia as a legend is just so powerful. Movement, especially now that fight or flight has been hindered, or not hindered, banned, is so big. And this Irelia legend could just simply allow too much movement compared to most other decks. It just allows you to do crazy things that others can't. And she has, in my opinion, the best signature spell we've seen in the game yet. From memory of set 3, I don't think there's a signature spell that's that good in comparison to this. Like, there's not one that matches it. There's some contextually could be amazing, like the Rengar one and Diana. But I think this Defiant Dance, especially for what this deck is trying to do, is just pretty damn special. So I'm not calling for any bans right now. When I don't think there's much point doing that with, I think it's one major event in Hartford. I think that, no, it's not Hartford, that's the one in set 3. Is it Atlanta, the one coming up? I think, yeah. I think that's either this weekend or the one after, I can't remember. I'm going to say the one after this. I think that we are where we are. It's an exciting, diverse meta for the most part. We've seen quite a lot. I'm going to count how many different actual legends we had in the top 64. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A Darius. We'll have a look at that in a minute. A Darius got top 6. Well, that's very impressive. Yeah, so there's 12 legends in the top 64. That's not bad, to be fair. That's pretty decent. What's this Darius? So it's very, very unit heavy. Baited hook, interesting. Intrigued as to how the baited hook works with that. Seal of Unity as well. Be interested to see that, what you call it, deck play, to be fair. It's a cool deck though. 9 yellow runes is interesting as well. It's one of the heaviest I've seen in terms of one side. It's obvious why these are in for, what you call it. It's Grand Stratagem, so expensive, but really good. That's obviously in for the gear hype. But yeah, the deck diversity is pretty good. Irelia, clearly, probably the S tier deck. I'm going to do a tier list later this week, based on what we've seen from the recent post-ban regional. I do think Irelia is probably the only S tier deck, with maybe Draven there or thereabouts, based on what we're seeing from the numbers. And then you have some A tiers like Annie, Yi, Azir. Honestly, Azir, it's probably low end A if high end B. I just think Squirrel piloted him so well. I think it's a healthy sign for the game where a deck that in general is not seen as the best can still come to these events and win it. And he didn't even lose a series. That's impressive. But yeah, I really love Riftbound. I think we're in a really good place so far. I'm very excited for set 3. Let me know what type of content you'd like to see me do as set 3 comes out. As always, I really appreciate you all tuning in. Keep it spicy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.